Well, welcome everyone to another edition of Delayed Offside. We apologize. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Excuse me, a month actually. It's been since we've been able to do a podcast. We took some time off for Christmas vacation, and that extended into New Year's vacation, and it just seemed to keep extending for one reason or another. So, and it's still extending for two of our co-hosts, Baron and Sanjay, are both not here. So they're still feeling the effects of that vacation time, I guess. But Adam luckily was able to, continue on with his Willie weigh-ins and holding up his end of their basically carrying the entire Delayed Offside team throughout this stretch with some content for our channel. But yeah, I'm finally able to get a full podcast here. So, before we get into some hockey stuff, Adam, it's our first time really chatting since those holidays. How was your Christmas and New Year's?
Oh, it wasn't bad. I have three kids, and we swap years for Christmas. So this was my year without. So I went to my best friends in Yorkton to celebrate. They invited me, and I could bring my dog. I had another couple places I could have gone to my sister's, but it's 15 hours away with the dog both ways. It's just too much. And then my parents were going to Saskatoon, but I didn't have a place to stay with the dog. So I was offered to go to their place, and they were more than happy to have me. And I was pretty pumped. It was good. And then I had my birthday on the 29th, which was very, very low key. Not much happening there. And it was my 40th. It was a big one, but I don't know. I wanted to celebrate it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So it's all good.
Yeah, man, we got to do something big for your 40th. Jeez. What the heck? Well, happy 40th to you, buddy.
Thank you.
And hopefully you were able to celebrate the holidays with your kids after the fact and had a good time opening gifts and all that fun stuff. So, I'm sure that was tough. It was good that your buddy was able to invite you over and hopefully you had some good times. So, and then for me, it was pretty low key. Just stuck around the house and just had some really nice family quality time. And then my wife actually took off for 5 days here, which is why I wasn't able to make it the past week, because I was basically trying to wrangle my two munchkins by myself. So it got a little chaotic at times, but I made it through. So
welcome to the world of single parenting, man.
I don't envy you, man. I don't envy you at all.
I love it.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, yeah, that is good. All right, so let's get to some hockey stuff. Let's start off with some goaltending, specifically the goaltending for our two teams, the Oilers and the Leafs. And they're kind of trending in opposite directions at the moment. So, I mean, for the Oilers, Jack Campbell, he had an abysmal season up until recently, where he's posted an average of .924 in his last 5 games. Adam, earlier in the year, I'd asked you, at what point in this season do you give up on Jack Campbell? And you said about the halfway point. So we're at that point now. Overall, he has an .886, a minus 12.2 goals saved above expected. So, I mean, have you given up on him, or has this recent stretch of good play given you hope, or is it an indicator that you think he's back on track?
Well, the nice thing here is we had Skinner step up as a rookie goaltender, and he has played outstanding for the Oilers as well. And even though Jack Campbell played horribly through that stretch, the Oilers did manage to squeak out a bunch of wins with him in net as well. But recently, with the change in goalie equipment that he has brought upon himself.
What do you get? Like a new glove and new pads, right?
I think he got a whole new set.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
From what I understand, not an insider, but I think that's really changed his mentality and where he's at. He's played unbelievable, made some big saves. He's not letting rebounds out as carelessly as he was before. He's holding on to he's swallowing pucks a lot like how Skinner was now. You can see his confidence has kind of returned, and the team is playing well in front of him. They're collapsing in front of him, and they're jumping on loose pucks. So he's only got to make that one save, as opposed to, 2 saves and then a goal, or 3 saves and then a goal. So I think it's got a little bit to do as well with the Oilers and how they've turned around their defensive play in their own end as well.
Oh, okay, so you think that has more to do with it than
No,
Campbell's play?
no, I think there's about a 50-50 split there. They were atrocious in the defensive end. Lately, they have not been. And I think Campbell has really stepped up and played. I would say it's a 50-50 split.
Are you comfortable with, I mean, I guess you're comfortable with Skinner going into the playoffs. Are you comfortable with Campbell?
Yeah.
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 You're good with either of them?
Oh yeah, I could say either. It's a nice tandem to have. They complement each other quite well. You know, Stuart Skinner was away for the birth of his child. Campbell played back-to-backs and played well. Like it seems like he's back to the goaltender that we signed for that $5 million over 5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with Campbell because as I indicated before, I felt he could be a potential legit starter, but he hadn't proved it yet, right? Like
Yeah.
just a hot and cold and injury issues, and it's just kind of continued into this year with this hot and cold play. But I guess we'll see. Maybe the new goaltending equipment, or like you said, maybe better team defense in front of him. Maybe that'll lend a hand to him getting his confidence back. Like because he is very hard on himself.
Yeah.
And if he can start feeling good about himself, maybe he can get back to that really hot stretch where he was in the Vezina conversation for a while at the beginning of last year. So I don't know. I guess time will tell. If Campbell can be a legit starter or not for the Oilers. But like you said, at least you have Stuart Skinner who's held the fort, and you can pretty much rely on him for now. And then in terms of the Leafs goalie situation, it was a big question mark coming into the season. They brought in two guys who had big question marks about them. And then they got solid goaltending from both Murray and Samsonov up until recently. But recently that goaltending performances from both have started to slip. In the last 10 games, Murray's had 6 where he was below a 900 save percentage, and Samsonov's had half of those games where he's been below 900. Now, like overall, Murray's still posting a 911, Samsonov's a 916. So about average to above average save percentages for both. And they're both in the positive for goals saved above expected, which is really all the Leafs need. They just need someone who can play competent goaltending. But like I said, they've had some rough stretches where they're letting in a bunch of goals they shouldn't be. So what do you think? Should the Leafs be concerned about their goaltending right now?
I would, and simply for the fact that I think Murray is, although he is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, I think he's been streaky over the last how many years? 3, 4.
Yeah, at least 3.
Yeah, he hasn't been like this solid goaltender. He did the job in the playoffs, but I mean, the second cup he won, Marc-Andre Fleury got them to the conference final. And I don't know, it's just injuries with that guy. It's always like every time he steps on the ice, it's like, ee. And then you see all the post bumping where he's knocking the net off its moorings, and they're starting to like question whether to start fining for that or creating a penalty for it, because like he's been doing it so often. There was apparently one game he was wiggling the post to loosen it up a bit. They'd caught him on camera doing that. Like I don't know, maybe it's a confidence thing too, but like also scoring's up in the league. It's hard for a goaltender to get plus 900, I think, as well. Like that's another thing. So I think a lot of goaltenders are going to go on hot and cold streaks, unlike a couple like maybe Hellebuck, Olmark, right? Who else is a hot hand right now? Ottinger probably.
Yeah,
like we're seeing all these goaltenders struggle. Like let's take a look at Markstrom in Calgary as well, Demko in Vancouver. Like
even Saros had a tough beginning until he's gone hot lately, right? So
yeah, it's a tricky position, I think, now in a league that's so hot offensively. Like look at, you see, this might be our first 150 point season from a player in what, how many years? So like offense is up, which is great, but man, goaltenders are struggling. Do I think I do think that the Maple Leafs might need to look for a legitimate number one starter. And that's simply based on the fluctuation of play from Murray and injury. That's where I'm kind of coming from.
Right.
I look at him and I like, when you get those draft books and they have legends for like things that pop up by each player, he is a definite Band-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How do you feel about it? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
Honestly, I've been worried all year, even when they were playing well. It was still always in the, just a feeling that of oncoming dread in terms of, we went through it last year where Campbell, like I said, was amazing and then fell apart.
Yeah.
And so
except in the playoffs, Campbell was unbelievably solid.
Well, he wasn't, but he was on pace with Vasilevsky at least. But they, their numbers at both weren't that great.
Yeah.
Having said that, I feel a little bit better about this year than last year, simply because last year Peter Mrazek was like not worthy at all. Like he was never an option. Injured all the time, and when he wasn't injured, he was abysmal. So there was never a thought where I thought, okay, well, no problem. Like, Mrazek can step in and help out Campbell when he needs to.
Yeah.
That was never an option last year. So it was Campbell or nothing last year. This year, it feels, even though their play has slipped, you had two goaltenders who were both playing very well at the beginning of the season, or at least, competent. Competent. And so it feels like to me, if Murray is the one who's not able to rebound and get his game back to form, at this point, I'd still feel confident that potentially Samsonov could regain his form and step in, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because at least they've both shown the ability to play well behind that Leafs defense. So in that sense, I feel a little bit better this year than last year, but we definitely don't have a home run in net. Like, we don't have a Hellebuck. I mean, you don't either. No offense to Stuart Skinner, who has played amazing, but he's a rookie, right?
Hey man,
so
29 teams in this league don't have a Connor Hellebuck. That's where I kind of am sitting.
No, I mean, really, there's what? Hellebuck, Vasilevsky. I would have said Saros before, Sorokin,
Shesterkin used to be
Shesterkin, but even Shesterkin,
Shesterkin's
actually, his game's rebounded since the beginning of the season.
And Ullmark.
But like Ullmark, it's like, was he that awesome last year?
Not last year, but the year before, he was decent with Buffalo.
So, but like maybe he's a goalie kind of goes up and down like Markstrom does, right?
Yeah.
I have to look into the numbers. I'm just thinking of guys where like year after year I can expect them to be good.
Yeah.
And there is only a handful of them. So that is the issue. And so at least for me, it feels like the Leafs have a little bit a better situation this year going into the playoffs, having two guys that are potentially capable of taking that number one spot, as opposed to where it was only Campbell last year. Yeah. So in that sense, I feel a little more calm about it, but yeah, it's certainly not the Leafs. It's the Leafs' biggest weakness still, I would say. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where our team's goaltending situation, what it's at come trade deadline. There's lots of rumors going around right now about, what our teams will be targeting at the deadline. I know you and I have been chatting in the Twitter chat about various rumors. I haven't seen any about goaltending, but I mean, you kind of already answered this, but like, if Campbell's play declines before the deadline, do you think the Oilers should stay pat and feel completely confident going into the playoffs with a rookie starter and a cold backup? Or do you think maybe they should try to get some sort of veteran backup to lend a hand if Stuart Skinner crumbles under the pressure?
I don't think Stuart Skinner will crumble under the pressure. He's been nothing but kind of cool in net for the Oilers. And, we've seen goaltenders step up to the plate before. Like prime example would be Ottinger last year, rookie goaltender, came in, shut the door on the Flames, damn near stole the series from them. So no, I feel comfortable going in. It's actually more so Edmonton's defense that was worrisome to me in the first half.
So okay, so you're feeling better about them now, but do you think that they should still upgrade there at the trade deadline?
That's a tricky question. I think they could get another veteran defensive presence, which might be good, but they've made some strides here. And I wonder if it's structurally, like they're just all kind of starting to buy back into the system they had before, and it's working. And they also brought up Vincent Desharnais, who's a rookie. He's played 4 games with the Oilers. All 4 they won. He's a 6'6", kind of lanky defender who hits hard. He's so tall that when he's fighting in the corners, like when he's fighting for the puck in the corners, he'll have his back to the wall, to the player, and players will run into his elbow and he'll get called for elbowing. Like it's not a blatant elbow. Like he doesn't see the guy coming. The guy just runs in. He's like that tall.
Oh, okay.
He's been steady. I think going with this 11 forward, 7 defenseman setup that the Oilers have been going with since Woodcroft came in virtually, I think they've been a steadier defensive team, and they've kind of come back to that structure after Christmas. And I think so far they're looking a lot better. Bouchard doesn't look as bad. You know, Broberg's starting to really find his feet in the league. Barry has had maybe his best year in years. He's been their steadiest defenseman. Nurse is not going down as much to try to block shots in awkward positions. Like they look all right, but another defensive presence would be good. And if it's like a veteran, kind of like, you know, you hear about Shen from Vancouver, he's won a cup. He's kind of gritty and hard in front of the net. You got Edmondson, kind of the same kind of player. And then you've got guys that they're I guess there's that Gavrikov in Columbus that has
that's the name. Yeah, I've seen quite a bit.
I've also seen like Carlson thrown around. I don't think that's the right move. I don't.
Yeah, I think you have enough offensive defense.
That's right. There. And I also, that's why I kind of don't think like Chychrun's the answer either. Oilers Twitter blows up about Chychrun. We need to get this guy now. Why? We've got a number of guys like that. It makes zero sense to me. And I know Barron's for Chychrun.
And I've seen some people say like he's good defensively. I haven't watched him enough to really be able to see that. If like I always thought he was more of an offensive guy, but I'm
interested to see what happens there, because if you do get a guy like Chychrun, you're getting rid of another guy, and whether that's like
and that's the thing, right? Like Oilers
Barry,
like Oilers are right up against the cap, right? So you're not going to be able to bring much in before having to remove something from the roster in order to make room.
That's right. And then, it's an interesting conundrum. I'm interested to see what they do. Like their acquisition of Brett Kulak at the trade deadline last year paid off. He was awesome. Mm-hmm. And you know what? He's been pretty steady for them as well down this stretch. I don't know. It's interesting, and they're all good problems because Edmonton's trending in the right direction. We're on a 4-game win streak. We're starting to climb, gain points at like a point in time that's needed. So,
because it was looking pretty rough for Edmonton for a while there. Very similar to last year, where for a while, I remember at one point last season, I actually stopped and like, is this actually going to happen? Is Edmonton going to miss the playoffs? And I wasn't quite there yet. I don't think they got quite as cold as they did last year. But it was a point where I was looking at it. I was like, it might be between Edmonton and Calgary as to who gets in for that last wild card spot, because Nashville is getting hot, and like Colorado, I know is having issues, but like it's injury issues. And you got to think when they get all their guys back, they're going to go on a tear. So it was really looking like it might be between Edmonton, Calgary for that wild card spot, and still potentially could be. They're not out of a wild card spot yet, but they seem to at least gained a bit of traction and separate themselves a little bit from like the Nashvilles and the St. Louis's of the Western Conference. So it will be interesting. Yeah, you're right. In terms of their defensive play lately, at least the last 4 games, they're I was just looking, they're like top 3 over that time in terms of like expected goals against per 60.
Oh yeah.
At 5-on-5. So I mean, yeah, obviously that's expected goals against per 60. Yeah, 3rd place, right after Carolina and Dallas. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously awesome. I know their schedule's gotten easier and like some of those teams were bottom feeders, but they did beat Seattle. So that's a really impressive win. I think the other 3 were not
Vegas.
Did they beat Vegas? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Vegas was another, and then there was Arizona and no, it wasn't Arizona. Sorry, it was Anaheim and the Sharks. So there's Anaheim and the Sharks, the lower end of the Pacific.
Yeah,
and there was the higher end of the Pacific, which was Seattle and Vegas. And tomorrow they play Tampa.
Okay, and then after that they get like 8 straight non-playoff teams, I believe, like pretty much 8 games in a row where they should win most of them. So that's great. And the fact that you were able to beat Vegas and Seattle, yeah, I forgot about Vegas, and Seattle, that's awesome. And sure, it does feel like they're starting to catch a bit of that fire like they did last year when they went on that tear and then into the playoffs. We're playing really, really well. So it will be interesting. It'll also be interesting. You were talking about like 150 points for McDavid. He hasn't really gone on much of a cold streak this year. And so I do wonder if it's going to happen or not, because I usually feel like every player goes through a cold streak at least once.
Right.
For him to get 150 points, you got to think like he's just never going to go on a cold streak. Like he's just continuously going to get at least a point every game, if not a couple or a few.
Right. And he, like, right now, he's making the league look like he's ready to go to a higher league. He's got 84 points. He's 14 points above second place, which is Leon Draisaitl, which is 70 points. He is 22 points above David Pastrnak in 3rd and Nikita Kucherov with 62 points. That's cheat code.
Yeah,
it's
really
unbelievable.
is.
He's leading the league in goals at 38. The next guy is Pastrnak behind him with 35. Tage Thompson with 32. So that's
32. A little closer, but yeah, the points.
And then assists, he's got 46. Kucherov has 45. Like he's leading in both areas, right? Like he's a terrifying player. Like
he really is. Yeah.
Oh, he walked in last night against Seattle. I made a guy fall, like just trying to keep up with him, went around a couple Seattle players and just rifled. Like his shot's so quick now too. Like,
Well, the nice thing is I have him in our hockey pool. So
yeah.
He's helping me win that thing.
That's right.
But yeah, well, you can continue enjoying having the best player in the league until Connor Bedard joins the league.
I don't know if Connor Bedard is David.
I hope he goes somewhere in the Pacific. So we get a Connor versus Connor rivalry between Pacific Division foes. I think that's what the league needs, but we'll see. But no, I do wonder. Yeah. Cause I mean, if he does, like the thing is, I mean, the team has played a lot better these past 4 games, but the fact that you have a guy on pace for that many points and Draisaitl's second in the league and you're still only a wild card spot, doesn't look good on the rest of your team. If he goes cold at some point, that's where I wonder, okay, is the team going to be able to rally behind him and help fill that void when he does go through a cold streak, or is the team just going to tumble down the standings when they're not getting points from McDavid? So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, they're getting depth scoring. We've got Eric Klimdros.
Yeah, he's been a good pickup, eh?
Yeah, and last game McDavid only had 1 point. We had a goal from Derek Ryan, a 2-point game from Holloway, a goal sitting down by Warren Fogle. Like McLeod got a goal. Like we're starting to get depth scoring, and I think it's also we're starting to get that like puck luck as well, which was not really happening before.
Well, fair.
So yeah.
I mean, McDavid's shooting percentage is way above his regular career shooting percentage. So maybe he's been getting puck luck all year, but maybe the rest of the Oilers are finally getting some.
Oh, come on. McDavid getting puck luck. Have you seen his goals, Pilon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that just doesn't look like luck to me. That looks
Oh yeah,
like
it's all luck.
skill.
He has no skill.
Oh, and there's so many setups. Like he sets so many players up for like almost tap-ins that get missed. Like last night, Draisaitl had an open net and it was like a bobbling puck and it just whiffed off his blade.
Well, that's why Draisaitl never gets any respect in the league, because everyone thinks he only gets points because of McDavid.
Oh, that's
especially when he misses wide open nets like you just indicated.
Something else. Yeah.
So defense is what you're thinking for the trade deadline for I'll go back to the Leafs real quick. Same question what I originally started as. We kind of went off on a tangent there, but goaltending. So if I mean, really, from what I've heard, mostly the Leafs are looking at either a top 6 left wing to play beside Tavares and Marner, or potentially a top 4 defenseman to replace what Muzzin brought to the team, because it doesn't look like Muzzin's going to be back anytime soon, probably not for the playoffs.
Right.
Those are kind of like the holes that the Leafs, everyone's thinking they need to fill. But if somehow Samsonov and Murray both falter down the stretch here, heading towards the playoffs, will that change things up? And do you think then the Leafs will need to target a goalie?
Do I think they'll need to target a goalie? I think they should be shopping. I think for
like, do you think they should be shopping right now for a goalie, or do you think?
I think they should see what's out there.
Only if the goalies continue to play poorly going forward for another month.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
I'm completely there, because I think too, like, you know, you gotta kind of see what's out there and what's available, because what happens too, like injury could happen, and that's with anyone. But these guys need to step up, and they kind of have floundered.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, that like I agree in that. Yeah, if somehow I really don't think that both goalies are going to be struggling heading towards the playoffs. I think at some point one of them will establish themselves as, yes, I'm the starter. At least I'm hoping so. If that doesn't happen and they're both faltering, then yeah, like I think you would have to target goaltending, because, you know, the Leafs defense is really good this year, and their offense, while not as potent as last year's iteration, is still very good. I think being able to add to both of those would help bolster the team even more and get them another leg up. I really don't want to have to use up trade assets for the goaltending position, but if the opportunity presents itself that you can upgrade there, and it's a big question mark at the time of the trade deadline, I think you gotta. And like I said, there's not a lot of goalies where you're thinking, okay, that's a legitimate upgrade. Like, I'm totally 100% confident that this is going to be better. But, there are some teams kind of falling out of the playoff race that I would say have those kind of goalies. Like, maybe Sorokin or Varlamov would be available from the Islanders, or Carter Hart might be available from the Flyers. If goalies like that are available, and I think all of them only have like a year or two left on their contracts, maybe those are some players you could target. And I would feel very confident with those goalies, because they've been good for a number of years in a row, not just a one-off or coming into this season as a question mark. So
what about it like a Gibson?
See, I wouldn't go Gibson, because his numbers haven't been great for a while. I know he plays behind a really bad Anaheim team, and I know that if he gets to play in front of a better team, his numbers will increase. But even when you looked at goals saved above expected, he's in the minus. So he's not even saving the shots that he should be. So when I'm seeing that, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that is going to be a better option than Murray or Samsonov. Because
James Reimer.
I argued actually Reimer last year. I was actually hoping we'd pick him up this year, especially as like a backup. I was actually really surprised when they got Samsonov after Murray, because I thought, okay, well, Murray's going to be the gamble, and then they're going to get like a reliable, you know what you're going to get backup,
right,
just in case. And so I thought maybe like a Reimer would work really well, and then they brought in Samsonov, and I was just like, holy crap! Like, okay, we're at the gambling table, you know, playing craps or something. We're about to roll the dice. Like, holy shit, what are we doing? Like I said, so far it's turned out pretty well. But lately I'm starting to wonder if maybe they're regressing back to their mean. So I guess we'll see. But like I said, the Leafs, all they need is competent goaltending. You know, they're a top 10 offense, they're a top 10 defense. They just need a goalie that'll make the saves he has to save. And if they can get that, you know, they'll be fine. But if they're going to have a goalie who's letting up easy shots, that's what they can't have, especially trying to get out of the Atlantic division in the playoffs, where you're going to have to play Tampa and then Boston. You need everyone. You know, you can't have a glaring weakness in net.
Do you think this could be the last season we see Dubas O'Keefe or Keefe?
Good question. Because Dubas's contract isn't being renewed. I'd be very surprised if they don't renew him. Honestly, like, you look at, I know he hasn't had playoff success, but you look at his regular season success since he's taken over as GM, and it's uncanny. I think he has, or was it Keefe? Oh no, it's Keefe who has the top records for win percentage for a coach. But I mean, you look at the Leafs, like they've been constantly a top team in the league during the regular season. So I mean, they just need some playoff success. So unless he doesn't like it here, but I would hope they give him an offer he can't refuse and he sticks around, because I think he's done a pretty good job. Like, he's made mistakes along the way for sure. There's been some questionable trades and moves and that type of stuff. But I mean, overall, you look at the team he's assembled, and I think it's miles better than what he was given when he took over. Like, that defense, the way he transformed the defense is the big one to me, because before he was GM, the Leafs were very talented, but they were terrible defensively. Like, they were always giving up more shots than what they were getting, and getting outchanced every game. And like those series against Boston, especially the first series against Boston and Washington, like, I mean, the Leafs really had no business being there. And it was only because Freddie Anderson stood on his head so much during games and was able to steal games for the Leafs that they were even there. So, you know, that defense, especially when you brought in Brody, you know, traded for Muzzin. I mean, it really, really helped turn this team around. And now they're, you know, like I said, like a top 10 defensive team in the league. So, you know, and unfortunately, playoffs are kind of a weird thing where, you know, you face like a hot goalie, or you just don't get the pucks bouncing your way, and it's like a short 7-game series, and it's done. So, you know, it's tough, because I mean, that's what you need to win in order to get credit and credibility in the league. But at the same time, it's like, you can't dismiss the 82 games leading up to that beforehand. Right. And when you look at the larger picture and the larger amount of games that he's been a GM as, they've been very successful. Yeah. So I would hope they bring him back, and if he comes back, Keefe will be back, because they're buds. So I would expect it be them still going forward, but I guess you never know in this business.
That's right. Yeah, it's tricky. You know, I just thought I did go out for my birthday. I went for a birthday supper with a good friend of mine who came down from Yorkton. And he took me and another kind of mutual friend of ours out for supper to Homestead.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. Fantastic restaurant. So
where's that?
What is it? It's Homestead. It's right by your place, man.
By here, really?
Yeah, I like Arcola, and it's in that strip mall on Arcola, and what's that turn off right away? Prince Wales? No, not Prince Wales. University Park Drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so like further.
It's like a fine dining.
Oh,
Great.
I haven't been there before.
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a try
Unreal.
sometime.
Yeah, make a reservation. Take Sarah.
All
Unreal.
right.
And I went. Yeah, the other guy was the CEO of the Pats.
Sorry, what?
The CEO of the Pats.
Who was?
The other guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh shit, man! Why didn't you get him on the pod?
Yeah, I should.
Yeah,
I'll see if he'll come on.
You should. Awesome. Like, how did that not come up in conversation?
Yeah, I should. But I told him about the script I wrote, and I was like, I'd like to film it someday. He's like, you get the keys to the Brand Center, man.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, super nice guy. Great guy. So, and he got me I got a nice little signed Bedard picture that's going to be going up here.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sweet, man. So, you should try to get a signed jersey next.
Oh, I know. I got to get it. That's got to happen quick, though, because season's winding down.
I know. Yeah, I'm going to go see a game end of January here, so I'm finally going to get to see Bedard live. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, can't wait because the guy's just on fire.
Oh yeah,
so
unreal.
All right, well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Delayed Offside. For all of you who stayed till the end, thank you very much. We appreciate it. If you could also please like, subscribe. More subscribers, obviously, the better for our channel, and we would really appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter, and obviously here on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, so you can follow us at all of those places. And if you have any questions for us to answer at our next podcast, please comment below. We would love to get to any and all questions from our listeners. So with that, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Adam.
And this has been Delayed Offside. See you next week.